And then I thought, how did I get into acupuncture in the first place? What possessed me to do that? And I went back to remember that it was in the 80s. I was in another world then. I was in the world of media. I was a makeup artist. And it was a great time. I worked a lot with a lot of music and bands, and I had what I call my Pluto years. Worked hard and I played hard. And it was good fun. And I went to have acupuncture, like I had quite a lot of therapies. And then a friend said to me, how do you think you're doing? And I thought, I'm doing fine. Oh, I have my acupuncture, I have my massages. But the truth was I wasn't really doing fine. The truth was that there'd be times in the night I would wake up and I wouldn't feel myself, I'd feel empty. There'd be mornings I'd wake up and go, oh, another day. And then I went, bless you. And then I went and saw a practitioner who at the time I didn't know, but it must have been this treatment. Now I know. And it brought me back to myself. And that's when I wanted to become a 5-element practitioner. And I want to just share this treatment with you today. There's many of you in this room that probably already know it. There's many of you in this room that have probably done it loads of times. There's some of you that have never come to this treatment before. But wherever you're coming from, let's just go over it again and let's learn again at this wonderful treatment. The reason I picked to do it today as well is at last year's conference, there was a fantastic seminar with a guy, and Ben, can you remember his name? Naji Mack, lovely, who has done and is still doing, if anyone's interested, he always wants volunteers, fantastic work with vets, ex-vets, of how to help them with their post-traumatic stress. And I don't know if anybody in here saw it, but he was doing some brilliant work. And he uses this. This is what he uses. And I just felt, I was surprised in the room how many people had never come across this before and how many people didn't know the actual points. So here we are. So let's start. Okay. I've never done a PowerPoint before. It could possess me. Okay. What I like about today as well in this room is we're not learning another system. We've already got our systems. We've had our training and we've got our patients. We know where the points are, and if we don't, we can find them out. We can Google them. But we're learning a treatment today that it doesn't matter what we practice. You don't have to be a 5-element acupuncture to practice this treatment. This is a treatment we can all use. Okay. So I'm not going to go too far in the history of this because I haven't got the time today. But basically, if any of you do, some people have done a great job at it. We've got Peter Ekman, who obviously did In the Footsteps of the Yellow Emperor. And Bob Floors has done some lovely, on YouTube, small little films. So please, please, if you need to, look up. But a bite size is. So where do these points come from? The 13 ghost points, originally. They come from the 13 ghost points. And up there is a wonderful man called Sun Si Ma, who in the 6th, 7th century basically wrote most of what we do today, as far as, especially in TCM. He was, I think, one of the most profound for his time. He also studied Buddhism, Taoism, and he was really into spirits and demons, and that is part of where he came from. He had this from. It was also passed on as a shamanic tradition, and you must remember that, this treatment is coming from a time when you basically didn't have colleges. It was given to you verbally. It was an oral tradition. It would be a master talking to an apprentice. And so with time, it's probably changed a little, but we love research today, but we don't have that research. But please, if you do want to, please do, and I'd love to hear more about it. I learned this treatment from J.R. Worsley's school in Leamington. He went and did a lot of investigation, and he learned this from his own teacher back in 1960s. He told me a wonderful story how he come about it. He was in a hospital, and there was a patient there that no one could touch. They'd done everything, they called everybody in, and then someone said, there's this man from a village far away, and they brought this man in to see this patient, and this patient just couldn't be at all touched by anything they did, and this old practitioner did this treatment on him, and from then he got better, and JR wanted really to find out what it was about, and that's where he went and asked and did his research. What is possession? Well, it's not Hollywood. As yet, I've never seen anyone with green vomit. I've never had to turn up with garlic and a cross. Possession is when our energy is not our own. Something has happened and we're not in control of our energy. This can happen for lots of reasons. It can be shock, trauma, heartache, obsession, addiction. It can be anything that will affect our Shen, anything that will not feel that we're part or we're connected. I did a thing today. I thought, I've got too much stuff on my slides, so I went at lunchtime and got rid of loads. So I have actually made a copy of it, and I'm going to send it to Kevin so you can get my notes. But I've got all of this on notes as well, so if you don't want to write, please don't. But also what causes possession. In today's world, I don't know about you guys, but I treat a lot of patients now who are getting younger and younger. Especially in my Hove and Brighton clinic, I'm treating children, really, who are in year 9. So we're talking about 13, 14 upwards, who are so stressed with this education system. And so I'm actually doing 1 or 2 of these treatments on that age group, you know, because they're basically traumatized by the pressure. So it's not just people like addictions or heartache, you know, it's actually can be as young as that. What causes possession, we know. I'm going to go on. So we've got shock and trauma, and there's some, this I'm going to give all to Kevin if you can't be bothered to write it. We've got addiction, drug abuse. We've definitely got here, and it was really weird actually typing this out, because I actually put terrorist attacks. So that's a new one. We've got terrorist attacks, engaging obviously with cult and religion. That connects with that. Exposure to unpleasant surroundings. Prisons, hospitals. Any chronic lasting condition like a mental illness, especially if they've been on heavy medication for a long time. Suicide attempts. We've got post-traumatic stress again. We've got anything that's self-destructive, self-harming, when a patient is out of control, and when a patient is actually hearing voices. How to detect a possession. Okay. Well, there's 3 ways of detecting a possession, I feel, but one is in the eyes. Okay, here are a few slides. Can you see them? Or is it too bright? They're very extreme cases, just in case. I'm hoping none of you have patients looking like Charles Manson. But can we see how there looks like there's no one there? Their eyes are there, but it looks like they're glazed. There's no one at home. Okay. We're not making contact. They can look manic and chaotic. Can you see those at the back? You see? You can't really well. Should we close some blinds? Turn the lights off. Thanks, Kevin. Is that a little better? Okay. So we can see all different ones here. These are not so manic as the other ones. But can you see how there's like a glazed look? We're not looking at the Shen in that picture. Here's Angelina Jolie, bless her, in her early years when she was a drug addict. Can you see the sadness and emptiness that there is? We're not getting the Shen. We're not getting a connection when we look in someone's eyes. Just take a second and look to the person next to you and get to know each other. Just look in each other's eyes. There you go. Okay. Okay. I'm hoping most of you could make a connection. Some of you have probably got phone numbers for tonight. No, I'm hoping some of you made a connection there. Yeah? The person next to you is in their Shen. Even if it is a graveyard slot, they're not asleep. The person is in their Shen. They are alive. We can see their spirit. Okay. When a person's possessed, you can't see that. It's like looking at a ghost. No one's home. Doesn't matter how much contact you make, you cannot get in. You will not be able to go past it. It's a shame these aren't bigger, but you know I'm not very good at PowerPoints. But these are guys who, they're before shots and after shots of coming out of the Iraqi war. They're soldiers. There's a whole wonderful display that a photographer took of soldiers going in and when they came out. And I wonder if I can make some bigger. I'll try. No, I can't. But I can definitely see in this one the difference. Okay. Hopefully, if you want to download them all and waste all your ink in your printer, you'll be able to see the difference that there is on the Shen. And what I might do is leave this slide up for later so you can just come and have a look. But they're wonderful photos of how obviously that experience of being in a war zone has completely affected their Shen. And you can see it in the eyes.
So are these pictures before and after they happened?
They're pictures before. So these were their pictures they took before they went. They're like ID, and these were the pictures when they came out, when they were demobbed. So in the eyes, there'll be a lack of the Shen connection. There'll be a feeling when you look into a patient that there's no one home. There'll be a vacant and dull look. There'll be no contact. Okay. Any questions on the eyes? No, all looked good. Okay. Next is behaviour. A patient's behaviour in the treatment room. I'm sure many of you have had patients like this. There will be a loss of connection. You will feel when you're doing your TD or trying to get information out of someone who's possessed that it's going to be a bit confusing. You'll feel like you're not actually getting the information. They could be chaotic, or they could be giving you very different facts, basically as if they're all over the place. You'll get a sense with their behaviour that they're not really present. They may even be quite hyper. They may be obsessed. going over the same thing over again, as if they haven't moved on from whenever that happened. Whatever was the trauma, they're still stuck in it, and they keep going. It doesn't matter what questions you ask them in the TD, they will bring it back again all the time, because obsessed is possessed. And then we go on to addiction. So obviously, you look into a patient's history. Recreational drugs, not just medical drugs at the moment, are, as we probably all know, rife. And so anyone with any history of drugs, I tend to look for possession. Because possession comes on all different levels. It doesn't have to be deep. You just have the history that someone has taken something or done something that could affect their Shen. You might feel uneasy. How many of you in this room have been with a patient that feel a bit uneasy? And we don't really know why. Thanks, Kevin. I'm sure in the VAC probably, huh? Yeah, you will feel uneasy. Although they're saying things, they're not being abusive, they're very connected, but you will get a sense that somehow this energy doesn't feel right. This person isn't centered, this person isn't connected. Okay. Just what we've gone through, really. The pulses, because we're so good at pulse taking, right? We're so good at pulse taking that we can detect yeah, I wished. In my experience, if I think a patient is possessed, I don't even bother taking the pulses. It's a waste of time. How can I know what's going on within that person, with their officials, if they're not in control of themselves, if they're not actually there? Now, so I tend to do the possession and then I take the pulses. But if you do take the pulses before, you will feel a change afterwards. You would definitely feel a change afterwards. How do we feel it? Well, Peter Ekman did a beautiful, a few years ago, he did a lovely lecture on the classics of the Seven Dragons. And he went into all the different qualities on a pulse if you're possessed. I can't do that. I keep it very simple. And I hope you have your own way too. But how many of us have taken a pulse and when we hold it, we feel a bit agitated? Yeah? It just doesn't feel right. And every time we take those pulses, we get a different reading. And it's not because of our pulse taking, is it? Every time we take those pulses, we go around the bed and we go back again, and they're different. We're not getting the same theme of the pulses all the time. Okay? Sometimes the pulses can feel quite sticky, like they're in honey or covered in cling film. It's like you're not actually getting them. You can't get a proper reading. How can you base a treatment on that? How can we base a treatment if we're not getting the pulses and if we're not actually getting anything from the patient, they're not telling us anything? Whatever we do. So basically, if you have a feeling that your patient, through their history and their behaviour, and please do this treatment. No one's died from having this treatment that I know of. By doing this treatment, we're going to give the person back their energy. We're actually enforcing life. So if you ever have a feeling, because let's face it, who wants to do this treatment at the end of the day when we're tired? Who wants to do the treatment because we think, oh, I don't use those points that much, I'm going to have to look them up. If you feel that there is a possession on your treatment, please do it. You're going to be doing them the best treatment they'll ever have, and you'll be giving them their energy back. So it's worth doing. Please do it. That's just what we said before. There's a feeling. But everyone in this room, the reason you came to this today is because you know. I know the reason you came is because you're all intuitive, you've all got instincts. If we get out of our heads and get back to why we came into this, like how I had to talk myself yesterday, why I did this, why did we know. We don't need some book or textbook to tell us what a pulse says. We look at the person, we see possession with our eyes, we feel it with our heart, we sense it with our head. No book's ever going to teach us this. That's why I went back to my room and cleared loads of these slides off. Although now I'm wishing I hadn't. Okay. The next thing is to hear. A patient will tell you, but we don't listen because we're too busy. You know, oh, when was that? When did you do that? They're telling us. They're telling us things. I've never felt the same since my husband left. I never felt the same since that car crash. I never felt the same until I was really ill and I had to be in hospital. A patient's going to tell us. We've got to hear and listen to their story. I did loads of drugs. I was really unhappy. It's telling us that their Shen wasn't their own at some point, and because of that, they might have got a possession. Okay? Especially with post-traumatic stress, I think that last one's quite strong. I cannot get that image out of my head. I had a patient last week who had a very, very tricky birth, terrible birth, about a month ago. And I've never treated her for possession before. Never ever did it. Never had to. But I felt there was something here. And afterwards, she did say, "Oh, I feel so much better." Okay. The importance of clearing a possession. It's a major block. It's a major, major block. How can we do any other treatment if a person's not in control of their own energy? What is the point? What a waste of our time. What a waste of their money. It doesn't matter what system we do, 5-element, TCM, I don't know. Poor Philip the other day went to China and they got sticks and they bashed out demons on him. Bless him, he can hardly walk. Should have had the dragons. Basically, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to work as much if the person is possessed. So this is a great treatment to do. Don't worry that if you're not a 5-element practitioner, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with giving this patient back their energy. Okay. If you are a 5-element practitioner, why did you put yourself through that? If you are a 5-element practitioner, it's going to make it very difficult for us to find colour, sound, odour and emotion. It's going to be masked a little. It's going to be masked. So there is another clue to, is this patient possessed? Okay, because every treatment you're doing, although you've probably changed the CF every treatment, it's not working. Or the CF is changing as far as you're concerned. Think about possession, okay? Also long-term consequences. Well, we know long-term consequences. You know, how many of us have been in a place where we've been depressed and down and stressed? It's not great, is it? The long-term consequences is why? Why when we don't need to be, really? All right, now we're getting on to the nitty-gritty. Treatment procedure. So there are 7 points. There's the internal dragons and the external dragons, known in the business as IDs and EDs. The internal dragons are at the front of the body, and the external dragons are at the back. I told you it was going to be a simple lesson, didn't I? I thought as I got you after lunch. So the point of this treatment is to do these points as if they are a lock. You're unlocking these dragons so they can devour the demons. That's why our point location needs to be good. Okay. That's why sometimes intention won't just do it on this one. Okay? We might have to polish up a little bit. Luckily today, I have a lovely body and we're going to see these points, and I was helped by Sandy to do the proper point location because I was a bit under pressure. These points need to be as much as possible correct, and we'll go through the procedure as to why. If one of the points isn't right, we're not going to unlock the system. And if we don't unlock the system, the dragons aren't going to come out and we're not going to clear the possession. So this is why, and thank goodness it's only 7 points, we've got to get it right. Okay? I know you're all going to get it right because you're all really good at point location. I can tell by the faces as I'm talking. Okay? We always start first with internal dragons. I'm going to keep it simple like J.R. Worsley used to say. Well, what's the difference between the internals and the externals? And I could spend hours researching like I have done, and I've wiped loads of these slides off. Because it's information that if some of you want, it's out there and you can get it from me and you can do your research. To be quite honest, everything I've read doesn't give me 100% of why. There's loads of reasons people will tell you. Loads of lovely stories. There's dragons that only come on, there's only possessions that come in from the front. There's some that only affect the heart. There's some that only, like, bad demons attack you from the back and hang on while you're possessed. Who cares? Who cares if it's an internal or external? If the person's possessed, they're possessed. But we start with the front because we're going to do yin. Because there's a major point that we use and it connects us to that heart space and the Shen. That's why we start with the front. And because for some reason, years and years ago, these ancestors did it and they did it well, so I'm going to follow what they say. So we start with the front and then we go on to the EDs. These are the points, which we're going to go through later anyway. I've done the 5-element numerology as well, just in case. There are just 5-element patients here. So we have our first point, then we have all the rest are on stomach. Now there is something about why it's the stomach, and that is because of the grounding energy that we get from the stomach points, and also because of the extraordinary meridians. But as a colleague of mine so rightfully said today, Ben Stevens, we've only got an hour and a half. This system can go, this is meaty if we wanted to go deep into it, okay? Please do, it's out there. So we have these 7 points that we do, and they're bilateral. Then we have the EDs, which are the external dragons, which are on the back. And as you can see, most of them are bladder points. All these points you'll find, they're out there. They're in Nora's book. You can get them online. I'm sure most of you have colleagues who have got them somewhere as well. Or you can get them off of here. They'll be downloaded. Protocol and treatment. Okay. Before we go into this, there's a few things really. Do we say to our patients, oh, you must come back tomorrow because you're really possessed? Maybe. Okay. It's probably not a good idea to tell your patient they're possessed. I say this because I've heard students do it, and they have every right to say that. If we're going to do things wrong, let's do it when we're a student. I call it a clearing treatment. I say to a patient, I'm just going to do a treatment if they ask. And it's a clearing treatment. It'll just make you feel more yourself. Okay. You can, if you want, go on about the lovely dragons. It depends how you are with your patients. But And also give yourself time for this treatment. It's very easy to just think, oh my God, they're possessed, I'll do this right now. And it's the end of the day. You've had a busy practice and you're going to do this treatment. Why? If they've been possessed for a few years, I'm sure 24 hours isn't going to make any difference. You know, try and do it when you're centered, when you're not rushed, because you have to find the points. If you don't get the points, you might have to do it again. And there's treatments that we do afterwards. So please don't rush this. Please give yourself the time you need before you start this treatment. Okay. So the needles are inserted, and this is where it's very difficult for someone like me who's dyslexic. I thought I was going to have to write it on my hands, I thought. Top to bottom, right to left. As you'll see when we do the demonstration, the needles stand upright as they're going to be once you put them in. They need to stand upright. Then we sedate them. And we sedate them going from right to left. And this is why I say don't leave this when you're tired or to the last minute. We're going to leave them up to 20 minutes, sometimes longer, okay? So give yourself time for this treatment. While we got the pulses in, we're going to be checking, while we got the needles in, we're going to be checking the pulses and we're going to be checking their eyes and contact. Please stay with your patient in the room while you are doing this treatment. I personally stay in the room with my patients through all the treatment, but if some of you are used to working in multi-beds or something, please do. Please do. It's not saying that you're going to see fantastic dramatics. You may. But it's important that you're with your patient through this procedure. Okay. If the possession has cleared, we remove the needles in the order. If it's not, and this is why we need the time, we're going to do the EDs on the back. Okay, so we're going to then get our patient, sit up and put those needles in. And we're going to do the same. We're going to leave them in again, maybe up to 20 minutes, to when we think that the possession has cleared.
Would you do both IDs and EDs in the same treatment? You would?
I would.
Always, only if it hasn't cleared after IDs.
Well, to be quite honest, that's a really good question. To be quite honest, I was going to do questions up, but that's a good question. No, that's good, it's fine. Basically, the lady said that if you do IDs and then you go on to EDs, if it wasn't cleared. In my experience, the possession mostly gets cleared by doing IDs. I think in my 24 years or so practice, I think I've only done EDs about 6 times. I've got possession by doing the IDs. Yeah.
And do you tonify the IDs before you move on to the EDs?
Yeah. I can't hear you down there.
What was the question that got asked?
Oh yeah, the question was, do you want to repeat your question?
Yes, the first question was, would you do IDs followed by EDs in the same treatment? And the second part was, if it clears after doing the IDs, you wouldn't need to do EDs.
Yeah. No, you don't need to do the EDs. If you get the possession cleared, doing the IDs, well done. Go home. You've done it. Okay? You only have to do the EDs if you don't get the possession cleared doing the IDs. Okay.
So when you say about tonifying, is that after the EDs or do you tonify the IDs?
The IDs. You tonify the IDs.
Can you say a little bit about how you do tonification and sedation?
Yeah, well, I basically, and we'll do it when we do the demonstration. The difference, do you know what we need to do? Can we hand a mic to some people? Thanks. I'm just going to get a mic down there so everyone can hear the question. Was it Marriott? It's the woman at the back.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
I'm
going to...
just asking about what your technique
Did you hear that? Okay. My technique, she's asking, technique for tonify and sedation. My personal technique is I put it in, I sedate by doing a half turn anti-clockwise. My tonification is I put the needle in and I tonify by doing half turn clockwise. This is going to be slightly different with possession, and I'll tell you why when we do the demonstration. The tonification needs to be strong. Tonification needs to have intention in it, because what we're saying is we've let the dragons out and we're hoping they're doing what they should be doing. We've sedated them. Sedating's like opening the door so the dragons can be released. And now we're going to want to close the door, and as we close the door we want to give it a good tonification. Okay? And really that normally clears a possession, to be quite honest. Do you want to have the mic? Because they can't hear. And this lady there. Who's got the mic? Okay.
Sorry, just could you clarify when you do the sedation and when the tonification? When you first put them in, you do sedation.
Yeah, and you leave them.
And you leave them, and then when do you do the tonification?
You do the tonification when it's time, if you feel that it hasn't cleared properly, and then you tonify before you take them out.
Would you do that with everybody?
I personally do it with everybody, yeah, because I like to think that I've gone in and I've closed them. But you don't have to. If you think that you have got rid of the possession, you can just take the needles out. If you can see the tonification as a bit extra. Yeah? Yeah, there's a lady really wanting one question at the back.
Hi.
Hi.
Just for clarification, so the first stage we sedate.
Yep.
And then if it's all good, we then tonify at the end and take it out.
If you want to.
But you don't have to.
But you don't have to.
And you seal
it. You
it.
only tonify again if you feel it needs an extra, okay? Because what you're going to do when I do the demonstration is you're going to want to feel that you've got that point. When you put those needles in, you will feel as if you have that point. There will be a resistance or a tug. If you don't get that on the needle, you haven't got the points. You have to go back, unfortunately, and change the needles you think haven't got that. Does that make sense? So then you know they're all in.
I think in the practical it would. So
that's why we have to do it.
Once that happens, you take the needle out and you don't seal it. You don't have
okay,
to seal it. Let's say it's part of an exception. We have to do the external one. Mm-hmm. So that's sedate again.
Yeah, well, we're going to go on to that. Yeah, that's sedate, yeah.
And then if you need, tonify at the end. So it's all the same principle. I understand now. Thank you.
No, that's fine. Listen, it can be complicated. It's trying to make it simple, because it is simple. And I think once you've seen it done, you realise that it's simple. Okay? Any other questions on that? No? Okay. So we've cleared our possession. We got all the points right. It's done. Then what do? In 5-element system, we go and we do what's called an aggressive energy drain, an AE drain. Which is an important thing to do. Do most people do AE drains here? Have we got a show of hands so I know what we're talking about? Okay, what you might find if you do use AE is, and this is another way you can ask, is the person possessed? Is you will do a TD, everything's fine. But some of their story, you think, oh, that was pretty hard. Wow, they survived that. Oh, okay. And you're thinking, great, I'm going to get a lot of lovely AE off of this patient. You put your AE points and there's nothing. There's no aggressive energy there. Associated effect points on the back. And in some traditions, we go into them, the AEP points, to drain aggressive energy. That is another lesson. Perhaps we can get it at the bar when we go for G&T, so we can get that in. Okay. Perhaps we'll all have aggressive energy after the conference. We'll all do a session tomorrow. This is when you can ask, is the person possessed as well? Because the stories they're telling you and the pulses, and you do check for AE, and there isn't any. And it's a bit of a surprise. How many of us has that happened to? Loads, yeah. Well, really think about possession. Because it doesn't have to be a deep possession. So you might want to do it. It could just be that that person's energy just needs to be back again. I've done that quite a few times. I've missed possession, done it, and then up comes the AE. Also what I've found is I've done an AE drain. Not much AE has come up at all, but after the treatment, the patient feels ill, really ill. They'll come back with feedback like they felt nauseous or they just didn't feel right. And you take their pulses and there's no blocks, and they don't feel like they've changed. Sometimes that's what happens. You know, if you tap AE and someone feels ill afterwards, just check that they're not possessed. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Phil. Hello?
With the source points. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're probably about to go through it with the source points. And with possession perhaps clouding a diagnosis of the element,
Yes.
are you reassessing at this point? Or, you know, if you haven't got a diagnosis because of the possession, if everything's all
Absolutely.
over the place,
Yeah.
so to speak, or what element are you going to treat if it's still swirling, so to speak?
Wouldn't it be lovely if it was that easy, Phil? Suddenly they're depossessed and you go, oh, there it is. Yeah, they actually tell you? No. Hopefully, once the possession's cleared, you're going to get a better view of the CF, because hopefully you're going to do colour, sound, odour and emotion. And the patient's much more with you in their pulses. And this is a time where you might actually see a different CF. You might want to change your diagnosis of the actual element you thought they were. Okay, did I answer that question? Great, thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Can we just wait for the mic, only because the people at the back. Thanks, Sally.
Oh, hello, yeah. Could you, I'm not a five-element acupuncturist, and you said at the beginning that this was for anybody.
Absolutely.
So I'm starting to think now, because I don't use CF and I don't know what an AE drain is, that actually maybe it's not a treatment that I can use.
Oh, don't think that, Sally. Okay, I'm going to change that. Okay. Forget all the jargon around that. Forget that we talked about CF and element, and forget that we even mentioned AE, okay? You treat that person using this treatment, and then you take what you get from the pulses and you carry on your treatment as you would.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Yes.
Are you suggesting doing the AE drain in the same treatment as well?
Yes, I am, and that's why you need time for us 5 elements. And also, Sally, you can look up the associated effect points and see if you want to use them. They are around in books, and I'm sure if you want, I can give you them afterwards. Okay. Yes, you definitely do AE afterwards, and you can do it in the same treatment. Obviously, if you run out of time, then get the patient back as soon as possible. But it would be really good while you've done this clearing treatment that you're going to clear their AE straight away. And you're going to want to, because you're going to want to, obviously, A, make them feel better, and B, you're going to want to get a sense of what element they are if you're a 5-element practitioner. And if you're not, you're going to want to help them anyway on the pulses and do what you would do from there. Okay. Also, there are a few other points that I personally do, and I'm sure some of you in the room do after doing it, once you feel it's cleared. I sometimes, depending on what I feel the possession might have been, I do other points too. Before I go back and work on the source points. I sometimes do spirit burial ground, which is stomach 24. Sorry, kidney 24. And then I also do heart 1 and heart 7. Yes, do you want the mic?
Hi. Do you ever do heart 7 and small intestine 4 to finish off after IDs or AE?
What if, as far as a 5-element practitioner?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
no, but why?
Just integrated. I'm TCM and 5-element.
That's fine, absolutely.
Yeah, we did heart 7, small intestine 4 usually after IDs or AE. So
that's fine.
Yeah.
If it works, it
Yeah.
works.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's why heart 7's good, because
What would you do with heart 7? Tonify or eat
Tonify.
Because we were told to only ever tonify heart 7 on a fire CF.
Right. Well, this is different, isn't it? You got your wings now, haven't you? We were taught loads of things by our mum and dads that we did that we shouldn't have done, I suppose. I don't know anyone yet who's died of having that point tonified. I hope I'm not the first person that happens to. Do you want the mic? Yep.
Hi there. I'm thinking of a patient that I've got who has chronic, long-term schizophrenia, and it's drug-resistant schizophrenia. So basically, no medication that he takes actually touches it. I'm just interested because I've heard about this treatment, so that's why I've kind of come. But he's when he's in the treatment room, he's completely connected. He hasn't got the vacant look or the things that you've described in terms of the eyes. So you wouldn't actually know at all if it wasn't for the fact that he describes these very kind of persecutory voices and voices that are kind of very, very abusive, and voices that he kind of basically are telling him to kind of do things or have values that are completely not what he agrees with and he rejects. So he kind of sees them really as something completely outside of who he is as a person. But in terms of the the things that you specify about the eyes, I just don't get that. I mean, he completely is there connected in the treatment.
I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, now you've heard about possession, do you think he might be possessed?
Well, I mean, from the point of view of what he's presenting with and what he's kind of having to live with day in, day out, they're there all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exhausting for him.
So yes.
So yeah, no? I mean, because I knew about them and I've had friends who are 5-element practitioners who told me about them, but I never felt confident to
be confident.
Yeah.
If you feel it, do it. You don't have to do a tick list. These are just there for us to help you. If you feel it, if you pick up and your intuition is telling you, do it. It's not going to harm him. Okay? But I would get him to come back quite soon and just check on him. Okay? Thank you. Yeah, hang on.
Hi, thank you. Can I just ask, if you've had possession, are you more likely to get it again?
That's a very good question. Do we get possessed once we were possessed? Yes. But you might not get possessed by the same thing, depending on what it is. But let's say we have a woman who is in an abusive relationship, and we clear a possession, and then she goes straight home back into that. You know, we're hoping that treatment might make her see something different, and with treatment, that is the start of her beginning her journey to change it, but we don't know that. So we could do that with a drug addict. You know, I've worked a lot in addiction. You can spend a lot of time with drug addicts doing all these lovely treatments, and they've been clear and clean for a long time. How many of us are hearing this story who know it, and then they go and use again, and they get possessed again? So yeah, I think hopefully once it's cleared it is, but it doesn't mean to say it can't come back again. Yeah. Thank you. Yep, there's more questions.
Thank you. This is a really quick one, actually. You
matter.
mentioned stomach 24, heart 1 and heart 7. Presumably you would choose one of those. Sorry, kidney 24.
Yeah.
You would choose one of those?
Yes, I would.
But you wouldn't do all three or anything like that?
No, I wouldn't, no.
And would you base that on just your own feeling about...
I'd base that on my own feeling, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. This gentleman.
Hi.
Hi.
Internal dragons, then leading on into external dragons. then leading on into AE,
Yeah,
and
but
potentially
there's...
with...
Yeah.
Is there a risk of over-treatment?
Is there a risk of over-treatment? So there's us sometimes who, go into that spleen and stomach and liver 3 and we go, I mean, has anyone been to China? Okay, is there any risk of, oh yeah, look, here, stand up, Phil. Poor Phil. Phil's been to China, and look what he come back with. Poor, I know, and apparently that was like beating out the demons, was it, Phil? Yeah, okay. Well, how about having some treatment now, though? IDs are much better, there you go. You've said something quite right. I don't think you can over-treat. One reason we miss possession is because we probably haven't got our point location right. Okay, that's one reason why sometimes we have to do IDs, EDs, and go back to IDs. So I don't think just on that basis. So I wouldn't worry about over-treating. What I do worry about is you're going to be tired as a practitioner. And they might be a bit fed up by then, 4 hours later, I'm still sitting here. So you have to use your own general. They might get possessed even if they weren't. They've been there too long. So I think that there's a point where you're going to have to say, enough's enough, go home and I'll see you again. Okay. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
The question, it's probably got an obvious answer, but just to be explicit, how do you know when the possession has cleared?
Okay. No, that's a really good question, and that's a nice simple question.
Because you can go on, maybe it has cleared, maybe you've missed it. Or
Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully the patient will tell us after a while, stop. How do we know? Well, we're going to know by the contact. If we had a patient where there was no contact, no seeing of the Shen, you will see that. Suddenly they'll come back. They'll come back into the room. You will see it by the pulses start to suddenly, you'll take a pulse picture, even if we're not the best pulse, and it will stay the same when you go back and retake it. You'll find also sometimes the pulses just collapse, or sometimes you find that some come up again. So you will somehow know, you will sense. Also, it's very common for a patient to start talking about something that actually they were possessed about. And they might have no understanding of why. And that's why it's good to stay with your patient while you're doing this treatment, because they can give you information. I can say, how are you feeling? And they'll talk, and suddenly, you might get tears. Or they might talk about something they'd forgotten or didn't realise how much it had affected them. And then suddenly they'll say something, oh, that feels better. Okay, does that answer your question? Thank you. One more, hang on.
Would you do these IDs with no other points at the same time? I mean, if you're
absolutely.
Absolutely.
You don't do any other points
no
with
other
these.
points.
No, you don't. No. Obviously, once it's cleared, you do other points, but yeah, absolutely, yeah. Okay, one more question and then...
I was just going to ask, you said about tonifying heart 7 afterwards, or stomach 24, or heart 1?
Kidney 24.
Kidney, right, kidney
That's
24.
That was my fault to be, yeah.
Okay. Is that done just after AE or after Dragons as well?
Good. I always do it after the Dragons, personally. I do it after the Dragons.
And after AE or not?
No, you don't need to do it after AE. Okay. Are we still awake? Just one more thing. I was going to do this and put a picture of Columbo. Just one thing. But then when I told someone, they said, how old's the audience, Sarah? They won't know who Columbo is. See? They obviously haven't got Sky Television. So we're just going to recap a few things that I just put on that maybe we haven't got. So always stay in the room. Please don't mention possession. Allow time for this treatment. Try not to fit it in. I know that's what we do sometimes. Locate and mark the points. I think this is really helpful because if you get the points wrong, or one wrong and you have to go back again, it will make it much easier for you just to go back and redo the needle rather than have to go and relocate all of them, okay? Good. There's one question. Yep. Going to get fit going back.
Before you've actually needled and you've located the point, how do you know that you've got the right point? Do you use anything as feedback to know that
That's a good question because, you know, sometimes when we do a possession, it might be the patient's first treatment. So they might not have that experience where, you know, patients who come often know when you've got a point and can give you that feedback. So if it's a new patient, you might want to just say to them, can you feel it? But because we're all such fantastic acupuncturists in this room, we feel it, don't we? We know when we've got a point, really, don't we? We can feel the tug, or we can feel the energy. So that's what you have to feel for, more than a patient saying yes. How many patients, we even get near them and they go, yes, 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 yes. They're all possessed, those patients. The moaners. We'll do this one on them. Okay, so so obviously ask the patient if they've got it, but really, guys, I'm afraid the responsibility is down to you. Make sure that you have some kind of grab on the needle. If when you take the needles out and you don't feel there's been a grab, that might be it's because you haven't got the point. Okay? And if that's the case, then relocate that point, and that's why it's good to mark it. Okay? Any other questions before we get our lovely... Yes?
If we're talking about releasing possession and demons and things like that, is there something we need to do to protect ourselves as practitioners or our other patients when they come in?
What a good question. And that's another lesson, really. That's another lesson. You know, possession is a very tricky... it's a bit like talking about husband and wife, isn't it? You can open up debate, which I've done a few times. It depends what we feel a possession is. And some of us in this room might be easy with it being connected to demonology or possessions of another spirit or entity, and some of us aren't. I think it depends what side of the fence you want to sit in, really. But, you know, whatever side it is, you can do this treatment. And if you are on the side of you're worried that, you know, dealing with that energy could have an effect on you, then I think it's actually quite right to be a little bit. And I was going to do that later, but let's do that now. I think, as some of you in this room probably have, that's why you're acupuncturists, you know, you're energy sensitive. And that's why one reason why don't do this treatment when it's the end of the day or if you're tired and you don't feel in the right space, okay? Please feel like you've got some grounding when you do this treatment, even if it means having to give yourself a little chat before you do it, okay? Get yourself solid, put those needles in, and you release those dragons, okay? Some of you have your own spiritual or things that connect with you. If any of them have protection in them, then you're going to use them. At Leamington, we had all sorts of things. I'm sure some of you had that. You know, you've got to open all the windows. Don't have the bed near the door. Any other ones that we heard? Don't stand at the end of the couch, yeah, because they could jump out on you. If only. Especially if they're handsome. No. Yeah, right, okay. Joking aside, you know, when I was pregnant, I didn't do possession treatments. You know, that was a personal thing for myself. You're all sensible. You're all very educated. I'm sure you'll be able to know when you need to protect yourself or not. That is another lesson, and there's loads of stuff out there how you can protect yourself. You know what's good? Maybe some sage, burn some moxa in your treatment room. Do open the windows after the patient's gone. Try not to go into another treatment. Try to have time for you know, of course, you know, we don't smoke, but try and have time for a vapor. Or a cup of coffee or something, you know, just change the energy. Keep yourself protected in whatever way that is. crystals, garlic, whatever way you want to do, okay? But make sure it works for you, okay? And if you do feel you're possessed, you know some acupuncturists, right? And it's always a good thing to do what we do to others, isn't it? Okay. Any more questions before we go into the demonstration? We've got loads of questions. Absolutely, yeah.
Hi, I was
Hi.
considering when you're dealing with major tranquilizers,
Yeah.
and then possibly causing possession, does the treatment actually clear it? Because obviously you can't tell them to come off of it.
Very good question. That's a very good question, actually. Because sometimes medication does mask things, and sometimes in medication it will change the eyes. That's really good. And I think then you've just got to be really strong in your intention and just hope that somehow you've got through there. And with time, with feedback, you might have made a difference. Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Okay, last question.
I have a patient who I would like to use this on, but they've had like such an extreme trauma in their life that I feel I haven't done it yet because I've been a little bit worried about unlocking something that I won't really then be able to
handle afterwards.
So I just wondered what your kind of take on that was, really.
Okay, well, my take on is do it. Because then they'll be able to handle it better. Okay? You know, do it. Do it when you feel that it's a good day, when you're not busy. Do whatever you do afterwards. Make sure they come back soon. And just be and support them and make sure they've got some other support, you know, to help you with that. But do it. You know, how wonderful if it's going to help them in that way. Brilliant. Okay. Let's go on. I can't believe we might be running out of time. I am going to get my wonderful assistant, who I grabbed this morning because the lovely Emma, who was meant to come today, she fell off a ladder. So she's probably possessed now. Okay, I'm going to push this so somehow we can get round. Let's all be creative. I'm sure we can get in. And isn't it good he's even worn lovely underwear and everything? Oh. Yes, I have. Thank you very much. Yeah. Come on then, quick. Quick. What a brave... I'm definitely going to buy him a drink tonight. Okay. I'll cover his modesty. There we go. That's just like being on a beach, isn't it?
Yeah, if I close my eyes.
Just like being on a beach.
What sort of beaches you go to? Very popular ones.
Very popular ones. Okay, so I've marked the points out. What I'll do is I'll leave the points in and you just come and have a look. But it isn't... it's really simple. It's just sometimes, like all these treatments, you just need to see them, okay? Okay. You all right there?
It's all right.
So that's okay. Yeah. So the first point, we're going to do IDs. I thought, with time, we probably won't have time for EDs, okay? So I just thought we'd do IDs because it's quicker. So here I've marked with the help of Sandy. Where's Sandy? Hand up, Sandy. There he is.
Can I be pernickety and ask you what you mean by below?
I would do that in a minute, yeah. Sandy helped me, so thank you very much, Sandy. This lovely artwork. So here we are. We're coming to the end of the point, Sapphire point there, where you'll find Ren 15 generally. Okay. This point is basically, and my location is really simple. It's a dip you're going to find. There is a dip. It's called a master point. It's a dip. And okay, all the books say it's 1 point. Just feel it. Just feel it. You know about here is going to be Ren 14. So you've got Ren 14 and there's your 15. Just feel the dip, okay? And on most people, it is a lovely, lovely point. You will be able to feel it, okay? So There we are. Breathe in, sir. And we're going straight down. You know, with intention, put it straight in. With it, okay? Oh, I've lost my mic. Aren't we all pleased? For God's sake, I wish that woman would shut up. She's been going on for ages. I wish that woman would shut up.
What length of needles are you using?
Any length you like.
Looks like you've gone in quite deep, that's why I'm asking.
No, you just have to use your normal ones that you would use. I wouldn't go any longer. It doesn't have to go that far. You will start feeling it. Did you feel that, sir?
I
Say
did.
yes, you
I
get
did.
another gin and tonic. You will feel that, because as you feel the point, there will be a resistance. If you feel that resistance just slightly, you've got that point. If it still feels like it's in butter, you haven't got the point. So you just take it out again. And you
go straight in, not at an angle.
go straight down. Go straight down. Sorry. Oh, I have to pull your blanket down.
Oh.
May I say, there wasn't that many
Nobody said that.
complaining. There was only one. Oh, he's taking a picture. Yeah. Then we'll edit that one, shall we? That's what they all say, isn't it? Carry on possession.
This is going to make me possessed.
There you go, he's going to be possessed. Okay, so we go from top. Then we're going to go from... Right from there.
Sarah, question. 3 ACI, Leamington? Or 2
Ah,
ACI?
here we go, Sandy. We had this conversation, didn't we? I do the old Leamington way. Sandy, you do slightly different, but we got to the same point, didn't we?
Yes.
We did. We got to this... He compromised, which wasn't easy. Stomach 25. Wherever you think stomach 25 is, you put it in. And if you get a grab, you've got it. And if you don't, you get it out and you do it again. How's that? Fantastic. In. Oh, that was nice, wasn't it? See, you possessed after that. Okay. What you might find with some of the needles is you'll put them in and then they will be sucked in. So don't be surprised if you put the needles in. I don't know if any of you have found this doing possession, but the needle gets sucked in. That's fine, just leave it. It's sucked in for a reason, yeah? It's doing what it's meant to do.
Do you
Here we go.
sometimes get it when you try and take the needle out?
Yes,
it
you
won't
do.
come out,
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you do then?
Leave it. And then take it out when it wants to. Okay, that one went right in. Are you okay? Okay.
So would you come around to do that?
Yeah, I would. There's a lot of license here today, isn't there? And I haven't had a drink.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Going to need one. Yeah.
I'm going to need one, okay. So we pretend I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, this is stomach 32. Yet again, we've all got different stories about the ACI and where it is. I've always done it at 7 ACI. It's worked for me. Anybody else done it anywhere else?
Well, the Academy would do it at 8.
Academy does it at 8.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Who cares?
It's the same position.
I tell you why, because...
Depends what it's above.
Well, at the end of the day, that's the only point there is along there. Okay? That's the only point that's going to be along there on that stomach. So you just find it. As long as you know you've got them parallel, so you know that they're going, then you just put them in and find it, okay? Okay, so if you're from a school that says 7, a school that says 8, a school that says 1 feng lu upside down, do you know, it really doesn't matter. Do you think it mattered thousands of years ago? Okay, let's get into some healing. Right, here we go. In. Obviously, this one is going to go slightly that way because he's got lovely muscles and they go that way. But you want to put it in.
Sarah, there's an alternative location for this one in John Landry's book.
Right.
This point between stomach 46 and 37. Have you ever done that as an alternative?
No, I haven't, because I'm just very basic with my point location. So I get the ACI and I roughly get what you want. You know, it doesn't matter what ACI is, get into the groove of that meridian. You know, that thing of it's not at the top, it's not on the top, it's not on the side, it's in that groove of the muscle. You know, on men you see it really well. And you just slide up there until you find that point. And it's generally quite a big men. You can generally find it. Okay. Sorry, I'm giving you... Got that? Yeah. Okay, that's in. Sorry, ladies, am I chucking? Okay, we're nearly done. Stomach 41. Here we go. Got that one? Yeah. You will. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to put them all in first. And shall I tell you why? Because I'm going to make sure I've got them. Okay? I always do that. I put them in first to make sure it connects with the chi.
And are you making sure your patient feels everyone?
Only if they know what to feel. If this is a patient's first treatment, they might not know.
If they're possessed.
And if they're possessed. Got that? Sorry, I'm so... My poor patient. Yes! Okay. So now we're going to sedate, because I know my point location is so great. Okay. So it's just going to be a slight anti-clockwise turn. But while I'm doing that, I'm actually putting an intention of what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is I'm opening the gates to release the dragons. And this is where intention really comes in, okay? Really, really, really do it. You're saying to this person's energy, I want you back. So you're going to do it quite strongly, okay? Right, this. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Sorry, Sarah, are you sedating left to right there?
I'm sedating. I did that one, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
But you learned it. And I'm going to leave it, that's it. Done.
So dyslexic, anti-clockwise.
Isn't it difficult?
It's not good for me.
No, not good for me either. And I'm having to do it. So now it's in, and we just then take the pulses, we stay with the patient. There might not be anything different. There might be something different. And we start to take them out. I'm hoping that it is, that the possession's cleared. And we're just going to take them out very easily, take them out. That's it. We're going to just remove them. If you feel there's something that the possession hasn't gone right, that's when you tonify, okay? And you tonify with the intention of, I want to get this possession out. You tonify with saying, come on, dragons, help, get there. And you tonify. And you can really tonify.
Because I couldn't see with the clockwise and anti-clockwise, and I really do mix them up.
Yeah.
On each side, is it opposite because you're facing here, and then do you go around there and you're that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same. What?
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't matter where you are.
Okay. Just show me.
No. I tell you what. I'm not going to show you because it's simpler than that.
Yeah.
Wherever you stand, that's a clock.
Okay.
Wherever you stand.
I know this sounds mad.
No. Listen, I'm dyslexic.
Backwards or forwards is still anti-clockwise.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No,
Keep it simple. That's 12 o'clock. It's a clock.
Yeah.
So we got clockwise or like the M25.
So it's like that. And then for this one,
you'll be around the other side.
And it's the same.
Yeah. And it's the same.
That was because I couldn't see if you were here or you actually went round.
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Better to ask.
I think that she already asked. Excuse me. I'm not sure.
There's an easy way. That's clockwise.
So you put the needles in from right to left, but when you sedate them, you sedate from left to right.
No.
She did it wrong way round. Right to left. So it's always right.
Yeah, it's always right.
Always right.
It's always right. Always right. Always right.
So I don't know why I saw you doing that first. Am I on the
She
right
did,
side?
Sarah did do it left, right, but she meant to have done it
Yeah.
right, left.
It's always right, left. It's always right, left.
Sorry, just
No, that's
tension
all
of the room.
Guys, here's the body, and before I take them out, if you want to have a look.
If they are going back into that situation, you're saying then you've got to keep doing it, how long would you leave it between?
I wouldn't leave it that long. I'd get them back within a week.
No, but I mean going onwards with your treatments.
Oh, I would get them back
would you
soon
do
as well.
it? You know, would you do it every... You know,
What
if
possession?
If you carried on and then it came back again, how would you just do it as soon as you saw
Absolutely,
it again?
do it as soon as you think
And
it's
there's
presentable.
not too many times you can do it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. What happens if you don't clear the AE afterwards?
There's no AE.
Do you? What if you,
Well, there might not be any AE.
Yeah, but what happens if a practitioner doesn't do that?
They're still going to be better because the treatments are going to work better. Your treatments are going to work better. Yeah? AE's for another day, but your treatment's still going to work better. Yeah? Okay. Just master this one first.
Oh no, I've had
It's great.
I've had this I've had these treatments done.
Okay.
So, but I don't always have AE done afterwards. And I feel that now.
You want AE? Okay, right.
Yeah.
We'll get someone to give you AE.
Yeah.
Sarah, I have another question. So if we were to do the external, when you say the needle goes straight in, so that's the same for the back, so you don't...
Exactly the same.
So you go straight in.
Exactly the same.
No, I think you might pop them out in a minute.
What are you feeling? I couldn't quite
No, my darling. Where is it?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the end of the xiphoid process.
process.
There is roughly about your REN 14, there's 15. It's kind of in the middle. You come down and you'll feel it. Okay, it's just below REN 15.
Sarah, I'm always very cautious about needling in that area.
In what, this area?
Yeah.
Because
of heart, lungs, all sorts of things.
Okay.
But you have gone quite deep.
What happens is even if you put it in, the energy will pull it.
Are they 1 inch or half?
So even if you put it in just a little bit, sometimes it sucks it in.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to...
Don't be afraid. I mean, obviously, don't use really silly.
No, I use
which
same
you don't.
size as you.
Yeah, don't.
So
once you feel that energy, sometimes you feel it as soon as you put it in, and you'll feel the energy will grab it. It'll just be like that, and you'll go, you know, don't worry. I've never hurt anyone yet. Well, I don't know.
Can I just ask, you know when you tonify, you get that grab as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you get that grab and you do it just before you take it out, then it's grabbed. It's not released. I mean, it might have released, but then you're tonifying, so
No,
it's
because what you're
grabbing
doing
again.
is you're grabbing and then you're like locking it again. You're locking the dragons out. You're going, come on, and you're closing
But you're
it.
locking them out, but physically the flesh is gripping the needle because you've turned it again.
It is, but you do get a different feeling. You get a very different feeling from when...
Does it not tear the flesh
No,
by
not
pulling
at
it
all.
out?
No.
Yes, if you like. Yes,
I'm
of
just
course.
going to tonify a point and take it out. so
Okay,
there's no
madame,
difference.
yeah, okay. You can palpate after
Just
if you want.
turn it out.
Oh, I see.
And leave it open.
Okay, and you press on the skin as you
I do, because it just helps come out. Just turn it out.
So cool, that's cool.
Clockwise.
This is so great. It's great because it's just a great technique for non-5 element.
It's great.
I wanted to do
I wanted and I did it once, but I didn't. Now I
No,
know
me
why
too.
it didn't work because I didn't do it.
Well, listen, if today I've got one person doing it, I'm really
I'll be
lucky.
doing it, don't you worry.
It was worth doing the stupid slides.
I'll be very good doing it.
It has a massive hernia.
It's very practical.
Oh, okay, still do it.
But how do I can't needle
Find the
into
point.
his hernia. I mean, it really is, it's like a football on his stomach.
Maybe do the EDs.
Okay,
Maybe do the
I did,
EDs.
but I
didn't
also,
make
I
any
did do
difference.
IDs, and I just used my fingers over the points.
Oh, okay,
So I thought that at
okay.
least it's not inserted.
Well, you've done your best, haven't you?
Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know, you could needle just outside?
Do you think?
I think you just have to leave that one to intention.
Okay.
Well done, though. That's great. Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, we are nearly finished. Before I take the needles out, is there any questions? No? Any offers of a drink? Yes? Yes, sorry, there are questions. Can we have the mic? I'm just going to get the mic for you because it might be an interesting question. Thank you.
So no, it's just a quick question about when you would actually want to stop. Because if you're treating, like with herbs, Longden Shigenban, heat tends to hide. So is there any protocol extension to say, okay, we think it's cleared, but in the extension that it ghosts may hide,
Yeah.
you'd actually go on and do the external dragons anyway.
Yes, absolutely. When in doubt, you do not do nout.
Right.
You do both. Okay. And have you got a question? Anyone else got a question?
Yeah, it's in relation to how long you allow. So you're choosing the right time of the day to do it as a practitioner, and would you have a 2-hour slot?
I think treat them when you feel it's right for you. You know when.
But how long in time? So a 2-hour slot?
Oh, sorry, as in your
slot?
diary to give to this.
Yeah.
I would definitely give an hour and a half. Because are you all right there?
I'm just taking them out. Do you mind?
Oh my goodness me!
I don't know. But do you still need me here?
I'm not going to leave you
Took
there.
one out and then the other's in, so I don't know whether you still needed me.
Shall I ask? Let me ask the audience.
Okay.
Hands up if I should take them out. No. Hands out. Hands up who wants to see a demonstration of a rendu block. As we're being filmed? No, okay. Has everybody seen this lovely specimen? Are we I will take your needles out.
Sorry, do it yourself.
It was do it yourself. That reminds me of a quick...
With cotton wool or not normally?
Yes, you would. We remember we're at the BAC conference. Definitely do that. It reminds me of a patient who came to see me who was really nervous, probably possessed from this experience. And she was nervous, and because my practice in West London's quite near the BBC Centre, a lot of people from the BBC come to see me. And all look this way while I tell the story. And she was very nervous, and I said, have you had treatment before? And she said, yes. And I said, oh, where? And I knew it, and she said, oh, I said, on Shepherd's Bush Green. She went, yeah, yeah. And I said, at the local Chinese... Yeah. And I said, oh, okay, do you want to tell me about the experience? She said, well, you know, I went in there and they spoke Chinese. I couldn't understand them. And they just this person just kept taking my pulses, and then they put the needles in, and then they left me. And I said, well, I know that you are left on your own. I said, but I don't leave patients on their own. She said, no, they left me. And I said, what do you mean they left? She said, well, they forgot I was there and they shut up shop. And left me on a Friday evening. And thank God the cleaner came in 3 hours later and found her there with the needles left in. But this was emotion testing, because I said to her, what did you do? And she said, well, nothing, because I didn't know what the needles would do if I touched them. So I said, so you just lay there? She went, yeah. I said, so who actually took them out? She went, oh, the cleaner. Okay. Exactly. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for being with me this afternoon with my presentation of the slides. And I've enjoyed myself, and I hope you have. Thank you very much.